Okay, go ahead and get your notebook together and a sheet of paper for the short answer questions. Please answer in complete sentences. All right. We're going to take a look at two of the most influential religions today, that is Hinduism and Buddhism. So before we get started, go ahead and buckle your seatbelt because we're going to take a little tour of India.
बहुत अच्छा.
India, incredible India.
Now, India is going to start right here along the Indus River Valley. They're going to be cursed with a couple of natural problems from the area. That is, the river is going to flood unpredictably. Okay, but not only that, they're going to have seasonal monsoons. Okay, and these seasonal monsoons are going to come in and practically wipe out many of the villages there. So they did have one blessing. That is these mountains. The Himalayas and the Kush Mountains are some of the tallest mountains in the world. And because of that, they're going to feel pretty well protected from invasion. Now, considering their environmental problems or geographic problems, one of the things that they're going to do to overcome them is they're going to build their cities on grids. That is, instead of just sprawling out like Mesopotamian and Egyptian cities, they're going to sit down, think of, and draw out how they want their cities built. They use a very standardized form of planning here that we still use today. In fact, one of their other advancements was they had a sewage system. Okay, and that sewage system, they had dirty water would come, or your waste would come out of your home, just like if you go to the toilet today, the piping takes the waste from your home. Well, they had a similar system back then, and they had wells that pumped in clean water into your home. All right, very advanced for that time period. Just to give you a comparison, Europeans aren't going to figure the 18, 1900s. All right, and here they are still in before the Common Era. So what happened to the Harappa Ponds? Well, like their writing system, we don't know. Some historians theorize that the Aryans came in and just overcame them. All right, when the Aryans came in, they snuck through something called the Khyber Pass. And when they come into this area, there's the Khyber Pass going to allow them to cross these mountains and come into the Indus River Valley. And when they do, they find this incredible, rich civilization. And they're going to overcome it because they had better weaponry. That is, the Harappa for all their advancements, did not invest in building up an army. Okay, and the Aryans, this is the one thing they were really good at, so they conquered the existing people that were there. Now, remember that word, cultural diffusion? Well, it's going to come into play here. The Aryans, who did not have a written language, are going to force the Harappans to develop a written language for them, and it's going to be called Sanskrit. All right, Sanskrit is still used in India today. The first book, of course, that they're going to write are the Vedas, okay, or the holy book of the Aryans, which is going to become the basic Bible of Hinduism. Now, it's written in a poetic sort of language, so your average person won't be able to understand. They have to go through the high priest. Later on, somebody's going to write something called the Upanishads, um, which is a collection of essays that basically explain what the Vedic hymns mean. Okay, um, the goal in Hinduism is moksha. Okay, I am trying to reach this moksha. So if this is the goal, all right, in order to do it, I have to have good karma. That is, I need to um, have good deeds. All right. If I am unable in my to achieve moksha, then I am reincarnated. And hopefully, if I have good karma, I come back as a higher caste. This is sort of, in a nutshell, how it works. Now, the Vedic age, when we're looking at here, we're talking about primarily three gods: Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Okay? In many ways, theologians sometimes compare these to Christianity in the sense of Brahma as being God, Vishnu as being Jesus, and of course Shiva as being Satan. Now, typically, Hindus choose one of the three gods to focus on as they travel down their path towards moksha. Okay? Moksha for Hinduism. Now, the other major component of Hinduism is the caste system. Now, the caste system um, basically divides society up into particular classes. Okay, you have your Brahmins, your Kshitras, who are your warriors, and then finally down to your Shudras, who are your servants. All right, but notice here, Aryans, Aryans make up the top two groups. All right, and the Harappas make up the bottom two groups. There's a fifth group called the Untouchables. Okay, made up only of Harappas as well. Now, what this is based on is your skin color, or something that they call Varna, which just means skin color. All right. Now, all of this is an example again of cultural diffusion. The first group that was there, the Harappas, notice what they look like. Okay. Um, these are descendants of the Harappas, right? And notice their dark skin color. And the Aryans. Today, India is a mixture of these two peoples. Okay, and still, most upper Indian society are of light skin. Okay, answer this short question that I have for you. If you need to pause, go ahead. Now, Hinduism isn't the only religion. It's going to um, be the only religion that doesn't have a founding figure, but it is also going to start or spur other religions, such as, that's right, Buddhism. Now, Buddhism was started by a guy named Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha was a Brahmin. That is, his life was already set. All right, he was all he had to do was just grow up, and he's going to become the next Brahmin. Um, but he's going to leave his family, his wife, his child, his riches. He's going to leave all that behind and search for something that he called truth or nirvana. No, not that type of nirvana. Nirvana in the sense of like in the Christian sense of salvation. All right. And in order to achieve nirvana, you have to release yourself from selfish desires. Okay? And now Siddhartha is going to achieve this and become what we call a living Buddha, okay, or the enlightened one. Now, as he becomes this, and this is right, I mean, he's been doing this several decades. And then at this point, towards the end of his life, when he passes away, his followers are going to begin to spread his teachings. All right, and there are two things that really stick out about his teachings. One, there is no God. The other, all right, if you don't have a God, you don't have Vishnu, you don't have Shiva, then you don't need a caste system. You don't need priests. Okay, so no God, no caste system. Buddha, in the eyes of Buddha, or all Buddhists, anyone can reach the level of Buddha. That is, anyone can become enlightened. And there have been many, many Buddhas since the original one, Siddhartha Gautama. Now, one thing they do share, let me point this out, the one thing they do share in common is both religions, Hinduism and Buddhism, both believe in reincarnation. Where they differ are their ideas about God and the caste system. Okay? Now, Siddhartha had something he called the Four Great Truths. And in it, he said that life was suffering. All right? And suffering comes from desire. In order to end desire, all right, you must follow the Eightfold Path. All right? And so, in order to be able to control your desires, if you follow this path of righteousness, okay, then you can end suffering and become yourself a Buddha. Okay. Now again, I want you to see how the religion is going to spread out. All right. Many of the Buddhists were traders, and because they were traders, they're going to deal with people from other lands like Persia and this little place over here. Okay. So Buddhism is going to spread into Asia primarily through trade contacts. All right. There was some missionary work as well, but primarily through trade contacts. All right. And within India, it's going to get absorbed by Hinduism. That is, Siddhartha is going to become a sort of a little mini lesser god in Hinduism. But here, Buddhism is going to really take off and become a religion all its own. Answer these few questions I have for you here. If you're answering the multiple choice, please write down the letter and the words. Okay. Now, let's look at some empires of India. There are two major empires that we want to focus on. One is the Mauryan Empire. Now, the Mauryan Empire, their greatest leader is going to be the grandson of the founder. His name was Asoka. Now, Asoka is going to take the empire to its greatest height. He's going to extend it to its greatest level. Right? And he's going to do it through conquest.
In the 3rd century BC, the Emperor Ashoka used military power to become one of the greatest rulers of ancient India. For nearly 40 years, he ruled the vast Mauryan Empire. Through war and conquest, he brought nearly all of India under a single ruler for the first time. Ashoka was known as a great military strategist, and his army was extremely well organized. They spent much of their time training and preparing for battle. But Ashoka had an even more formidable weapon. His army used elephants to win many victories in battle. With their very large bodies, elephants are able to do things during combat that are too difficult or dangerous for other forces, such as marching in front, destroying ramparts, gates, and towers, trampling the enemy's army, and causing terror. Ashoka led his last military campaign against the rich kingdom of Kalinga, located on the Bay of Bengal. Kalinga controlled the country's southern trade routes. This was Ashoka's last remaining competition in India. At the front line stood Ashoka's elite, the mounted archers. Each war elephant carried 3 fighting men, 2 shot from the side and 1 from behind. A 4th man guided the animal. Against so many war elephants, the Kalingans were outmatched. After the battle, Emperor Ashoka was shocked to see the suffering and carnage he had caused. Ashoka was so full of remorse that he renounced the use of violence and embraced Buddhism. Ashoka had numerous Buddhist monasteries built and made Buddhism the state religion. And he sent Buddhist missionaries throughout India and as far away as Syria, Egypt, and Greece. Ashoka also urged tolerance of all faiths, regulated the slaughter of animals, and softened the harsh laws of his predecessors. And although in India Buddhism would eventually become only a minor religion, Ashoka's support helped the religion spread and survive in other regions of the world, where it lives on today.
Now, 500 years later, after Ahsoka, there's going to be another empire started, and that's going to be the Gupta. So, I mean, shortly after Ahsoka, the Mauryan Empire falls apart, and a new empire is going to be started by the Guptas, and this is going to be really what we call the Golden Age of India. Now, the Golden Age of India means that there were huge advancements in technology, science, math, medicine, okay? And this is when India becomes dominant in world trade. All right? Now, again, in terms of India, you have this huge group of peoples from all walks of life. And because you have this diverse group of cultures, um, unity that is bringing them all together under one leader was really, really difficult. All right, answer these 2 questions that I have for you here and read this short passage. And that concludes our look at India.